Good day, and welcome to the Message Center announcements for April 13th. As always, I go through all the different announcements and kind of pick and choose the ones I think are going to be important for you as you are looking at the changes happening in Microsoft 365. To start off with, we're going to go on the SharePoint side. And on the SharePoint side, there's going to be a slight change in the filtering panel when it comes to your document libraries and your lists happening at the end of March, started for some of you, into mid-April. You're going to notice that there's been some little bit of changes. You see the screenshot there that shows the before and after. But the main thing to keep in mind, number one, it's a performance boost. Some of the changes that are happening right now. Additionally, there was a lot of customer feedback on some things that they wanted to see changed. And so this is kind of that end result from that feedback. Some of the things that you'll see in specifically is filter by person, date modified, content type, custom metadata types were in there, but not easily found. So it just makes it a lot easier to find that information. Make sure your users know that this is happening. Jumping on the team side, we have a couple of changes that are happening here. This first one is smarter auto suggestions to help us search faster. And just the idea is as you start typing, it's going to be giving you a lot of more suggestions, a lot more intuitive suggestions based off the information that you work with, the people that you work with. And so that information is being brought up, right? So, and then you can filter, people, channel, or chats. By default, this is going to be enabled, no admin need to be able to configure anything. This is just going to happen. So make sure you let your end users know this is happening. Another feature change is happening here. Targeted release mid-April to early May, and then worldwide early to mid-May is this idea that badging in Teams, when you get notifications about, hey, what's going on, who's mentioning you, those types of things, is going to get a little bit of an update. It's going to show a lot more information. In fact, badge counts are going to be added into some of the different areas. As you see that screenshot here, you'll see like in the mentions or followed threads, you're going to see those badge counts depending upon how many mentions you've received in this case. Other areas, unread messages, unmuted chats, personal mentions, followed threads, and tag mentions are all going to be included with that. Again, let your users know about this. One of the things that I always find that I need to do if I'm doing any presenting or if I really need to focus on is I do need to go ahead and turn on my Windows Do Not Disturb. But up until now, Teams did not look at that. And that's changing here pretty quickly. Starting in May, early to late for targeted, and worldwide mid-May to late May, they're going to get that update. Now, understand this is only for Windows 11 devices. This is not going to be for Mac OS, web, mobile, VDI, and so on and so forth. It's going to automatically, when you turn on that Windows Do Not Disturb, it's automatically going to suppress all of your notifications, your activity that you would normally get in Teams. You're not going to see those pop up. So again, great improvement. Well received, I think. It will be well received. All right. Last thing in Teams specifically, we're going to look at is this video recap capability that is now coming to Teams. And this is for that intelligent meeting recap piece. So if you go into the recap, you'll see that intelligent meeting recap as you see in the screenshot here. By the way, this does require the Copilot license, the Microsoft 365 Copilot license to be able to access. But what it's going to do, AI is going to go and grab snippets from your meeting, right? The video snippets from there, as well as have a video overlay or audio overlay that then talks about it. So think of it like a podcast type style audio on it. And it's going to hit those big takeaways or discussion points that you need to have in order to understand what happened at that particular meeting. So that's a big change that is happening in there. And I think it's something everybody should go ahead and try it. Think of it as that the audio, we have that audio recap for those who've worked with that before. Now you're just going to get those video, especially if there's screen shares in there. That's important to be able to see that information. So great update happening here in April and May. Let's flip over to the Copilot side. And this is a big announcement that's coming to Frontier. And just to make sure everybody's on the same page, Frontier is kind of like that from the Copilot side of things is that preview, that public preview capability that you can then enable. And by the way, there's another message post that's coming up and that says that you can enable for groups and users if you want to, or everybody or nobody for that matter, and write things like and enable Anthropic subprocessor, right? That's one of the reasons why I might want to be able to do something like that on a Frontier side. So as a subprocessor, that would be one of those capabilities from a Frontier. But Frontier just gives us the ability to get all those previews, right? One of those is, this is really cool. I've been playing around with this at work a lot. It's called Cowork. And think of that as, it's orchestrating some complex multi-step work. And it will actually do, if you give it something to do, and it's complex pieces, actually will do multiple threads to be able to get those pieces done. And so an example, you see in the screenshot in inbox cleanup. So go ahead and clean up my inbox. It won't do anything unless you tell it to do it, but it will give you that capability to be able to interact with your mailbox or create in this case, a travel plan or prep a meeting if that's the case. So it does more than answering questions. It executes all that, all those pieces, and then gives you that play-by-play as you're going through. So nice things like coordinates tasks. It can work with your emails, your chats, your Word, Excel, PowerPoint, creativity if you need to do that as well. So major change. If you have Frontier enabled, make sure you notify your users about this and have them play around with it. There's a lot of great things happening here. So I think you're going to enjoy it. There's a change on one of the agents that are out there. Was actually project manager agent, was out there for a little while, and it was in Frontier. And now it's actually being changed to planner agent, right? So in this particular one that's happening, it's mid-March to early May that it's going to be available. Think of it as that agent that's going to be able to help out with any of your planner tasks, be able to understand what's going on. From a planner side of things, it doesn't matter if you have Planner Premium or Basic, does not matter. It still will interact with those items that you have in Planner. Things that it can do is provide automatic creation if you need to, management, and status reporting on your Planner items as necessary, as well as task execution overall. So major change. Please take a look at this when it comes out and understand how this is going to help from a project management or even your own personal productivity side of things. Notebooks. This is one of those things that I know when I talk to my customers, there's still a lot of not knowing about what notebooks are. Understand it's going to be a little bit easier to understand what is in that Copilot notebook, starting here basically here in April. Worldwide, late April to late May, but understand it's in Frontier right now, right? So this is a change that's happening. It's a redesign of the overview page. And you'll notice in here, it'll give me a summary of what this Copilot notebook is going to be doing, as well as some, hey, I need to do some creation. Maybe I need to do a recap, or maybe I need to do a infographic on the information that I have in here. So that I'll click on that, it will automatically create that for you. So give some key insights before I even jump in and do more and ask the information about what's in that actual notebook. So the nice thing about it is it just gives it a lot easier to be able to read what's in this particular Copilot notebook and then interact with it without having to think about it. So it's enabled by default as well. On the PowerPoint side, there's a change from a Copilot side of things. And one of the things that we've heard a lot of is, hey, we're using Adobe Experience Manager to be able to, put our assets in, images and those pieces there. Can we connect it to Copilot and PowerPoint to be able to do things? And the answer is yes. Right? So you can actually make a connector in Admin Center to be able to do that. This is happening at the end of April, going to the end of May. If you do have that Adobe Experience Manager already set up, admins can go ahead and get that set up. Then users can be able to use this and generate images using branded images that you have from the Adobe Experience Manager side of things, or actually pull images straight from there. They did put a note in here, recommendation enable this feature if the image contains more than 1,000 images with the metadata. So it's going to be a lot easier for Copilot to go and grab that information and then use it as it's building out those slides. So keep that in mind, but a great day for those who are using AEM. Another thing on the PowerPoint side, which I think is really cool, is, and only if you have Anthropic as a sub-processor enabled in your environment, is to choose your AI model when you're editing your PowerPoint presentation or using Copilot in there. Really then allows you to go down and choose from that model choice and say, hey, I really want to just use Claude, not do the auto. I really want to just use this. That's a much better model for making these types of scenarios or creating your decks and things like that. So the nice thing about it is still maintaining existing security and compliance controls as doing this, but then you get that power of Claude to be able to generate that content that you're looking for in there. Could be a new slide, it could be a image on that slide, whatever that happens to be, it's going to be a much better experience. All right, so those are the main ones. I do want to hit some of these quick mentions because there's a lot of things going on here. And you notice there's some teams and there's some teams rooms and some SharePoint advanced management pieces I do want to hit. So the first one is, so there's been a lot of organizations that want to use AI. However, they do not want to be able to retain the transcripts or recording. So there's this new feature that is happening here mid-May to late May, targeted in June, basically worldwide. Recap without saving transcript, right? So do all that recap, get all that goodness, and don't save the transcript so I can just see the information and I don't have to, ask questions after the fact, right? So again, those organizations that limit or prohibited retention of transcripts or recordings. On the SharePoint Advanced Management side of things, and if you're not familiar with that tool, it's a really great tool to be able to help make sure your content is in good shape, especially as you're moving forward with Copilot or you're continuing to use Copilot. We're adding the ability to delegate restricted access control to site admins, giving them that ability to be able to restrict that site, right? That they would be the ones who would need to do that anyway, so let's give them that capability. So that's kind of nice feature overwhelm. There's going to be an update in Copilot navigation pane, history filtering. So if I'm in Word and I'm using Copilot, what you're going to end up seeing is you're going to see just those chats that you've been doing in Word, or maybe it's Excel. But then there's going to be an option to say all chats, and that's going to be every chat, either, it doesn't matter if it's Word, Excel, PowerPoint, or in the app or in the web, doesn't matter. So that's happening late April to late May. Files, jump to OneDrive. Files that were deleted in the cloud will no longer appear in your local trash bin. And that's been interesting for a long time. A lot of people have been seeing that, where in Windows, you'll see additional content that's sitting in there because you maybe deleted it from the cloud. Now, if it's deleted in the cloud, it's just going to go to the site recycle bin. You're not going to see that here on your desktop. So that's going to be a big change early to late May. On the Teams room side of things, this is huge for those who have Teams rooms and you're using something called Direct Guest Join. This is the ability for a Zoom or a Google or a Cisco WebEx call to join the Teams room. That's built into the capabilities of that Teams room software. We are making an update for video reliability and to be able to have 16 a 4x4 grid videos coming into that particular meeting in that room. Big change. That's something that a lot of my customers in the past have been asking for. Copilot, this is one of those things on the sub-processor piece, right? Enable third-party model providers, such as Anthropic. When that came out, that sub-processor piece, it was all or none. That was it. Now, starting here in late April, you're going to be able to target users or groups to say, hey, this subgroup, maybe it's a testing group. We're going to give them the ability to be able to do Anthropic, or there's a specific need for them to be able to do Anthropic, but not for everybody else. So you can then have that conversation, figure that out, and then do users and groups when it comes to that. There is a Teams new / command, which I found interesting. If you do I forget this, / create workflow, what that's going to be able to do is you can actually create a workflow straight from your chat, and it will open up that process. Then you don't have to go through that all the screens to be able to get started on a workflow. So keep that one in mind. And then the last one on this screen is the one-time passcodes for external presenters. So if you have a scenario where you have an external presenter and you don't want them to be anonymous as they come in, they're going to have to verify, right? They'll have that passcode to verify. And once they get them in, then they're going to have that verified label to their name so that you know that they're legit, the person they're supposed to be. All right, a couple things that, one thing that was kind of added into this was the retirement of noise suppression capability for OneDrive and SharePoint video. That is retiring. Basically, it doesn't seem like it was a feature that was being utilized a lot. That's going to happening in early June to early July to early August of this year. But all the other features are going to be happening and not changing. You'll be fine. Everything should be good at that point. Outside of that, everything else should be the same as the last couple times, including, InfoPass services is still sitting out there July 14th, and there's some things that are leading up to that. So make sure that you get your workflows out and moving into Power Automate and Power Apps and deal with that as much as possible. So that is majority of it. And don't forget, two places, the Microsoft Community Hub and the roadmap, where you can get a lot of good information as far as features that are coming in the near future. So thank you and enjoy the rest of your Monday.